What if you could do it all? Not by doing more, but by reclaiming what already is yours. Welcome to In Her Words, Waking Conversations by Women. I'm your host, Thando Mazibuko. Today's guest knows what it means to wear many hats and carry even more weight. She's a lawyer by day. Yes, a lawyer. But behind the scenes, she's quite a revolutionary. Meet Coach Lee, the productive and accountability coach who's transforming lives of corporate women who feel trapped in their success. She doesn't believe in the hustle of it all. She doesn't sell a burnout. Thank God. Instead, she helps women uncover their hidden time in their day so they can finally thrive, lead, and live without compromise. From boardrooms to breaking point to becoming the architect of your own freedom, this conversation is for every woman who is asking, is this all there is? Coach Lee, welcome to In Her Words.
Thank you for having me, girl. That was beautiful. I need to bottle that up and sell that. That was a beautiful introduction. Thank you.
That is what you do. That's what you do for women, and that is who you are. A little of it is who you are. So, Coach Lee, you are a lawyer and a transformation coach. How did you go from being in the legal field into now coaching women as well?
Well, it was an accident. You remember the pandemic? You remember back in 2020 when that whole thing happened? So really pre-pandemic, I work out. So I was into health coaching on accident by essentially being in these accountability groups and kind of like encouraging the ladies. Like we were just kind of supporting each other. And then my coach was like, hey, you should just be a health and fitness coach because you're already motivating the girls. So you're doing everything except reaping the benefits of the financial side. So I signed up more so for the discount. And in the course of that, obviously continued to motivate the ladies. But it wasn't just about working out. Because oftentimes for them, it was, I don't have time to work out. When do I work out? How do I meal prep? My family doesn't want to eat the same things as me. So through the course of kind of showing them how to find time to work out, find time to meal prep, simplifying meal prep, they were like, you should be a coach. And I'm like, yeah. No one has time for that. Full-time criminal defense attorney, love what I do. This is just essentially like a hobby. And then the pandemic happened, and literally like a week in, all those thoughts started coming back to me of like, you should be a coach, you should be a life coach. And my excuse of I don't have time has now vanished because what do we have a whole bunch of? Time. Thankfully didn't lose my job because criminal defense, people were still getting arrested. But the amount of time that we had to be in the office and with us working from home, they were pretty much like, we don't really care when you log in, just get your work done. I'm naturally a morning person. So every day by lunchtime, I'm like, okay, I'm bored. What next? So the algorithm started algorithming Facebook, Instagram, as soon as you open it now, all these become a coach. So I started signing up for all these free webinars to figure out, okay, do I want to do coaching? I made it halfway through the first video of the course I ended up taking, which was all of 3 to 5 minutes. And I was like, oh, I see what people saw. I'm in. And since then I was hooked. Like, okay, what do I need to do to make this official? Because the lawyer in me is like, we got to legalize the business, get a website, do all that stuff behind the scenes. But during the course of me building that part out was taking the courses, reaching out to a few of my friends who essentially I had coached, but was just being a friend at that time and was like, hey, I'm thinking about becoming a coach. Basically, can I coach you for free? You critique me, let me know if it helps, if it doesn't, what you think I should change as a formal coaching offer as opposed to me just being your friend and giving you advice. And so that's kind of how I got here.
Wow, that's such an interesting, route to how you got into coaching and you actually got into your calling. You work with high achieving women who seemingly have it all, but still feel stuck in their lives. What does that feeling actually look like? Is it burnout, or is it guilt, or is it just something that's deeper?
It can be a combination of it all, depending on the woman. Oftentimes, as women, we play so many roles in life. Whether you're married or not, have a significant other or not, have children or not, we are more than our job and our career. Whether you love what you do, and I love what I do, but I'm not just a lawyer. I'm not just a criminal defense attorney. I'm so much more than that. And so oftentimes we get stuck and kind of pigeonholed into these boxes. Men often don't have that same issue. They can be multiple things, and it doesn't feel like they're dropping the ball, or they're not looked at like, why aren't you home? Why are you out here doing these things? And so as women, we often get pigeonholed into one box or other, whether that's career woman, wife, mother, entrepreneur, whatever it is. And so it's about showing you that you don't have to only be one thing. You define who you are. So as we continue to play these different roles in life, we don't have to drop the ball in other areas. So oftentimes it shows up as guilt first, because you feel guilty for wanting to have a full-time job, wanting to have a career, wanting to potentially climb the corporate ladder. But in the midst of that, you don't want to neglect the other roles that you play. You want to be able to have and find work-life balance. So for them, they want to quote unquote be able to do it all, but they have to define what all is for them. And so in the course of that pursuit, it often turns into burnout, because you're showing up and you're hustling, you're grinding, you're pushing, that now you're like, I'm depleted. And so it can manifest itself in different ways, but often it shows up initially in that guilt, and you showing up trying to hustle, grind, and do it all can lead to the burnout part.
That's so true. A lot of us are trying to juggle so much, but by being successful and doing and just showing up as a family member or just a woman. And a lot of times men don't have to deal with that. And you're completely right about that. Most people think that productivity is about doing more. That's true. But you teach women that to find hidden time in their day. What do you mean when you say hidden time?
So we do all these different things in life. Mm-hmm. For me, I have a commute to work. Now that school is back in, my commute to work and home is probably a little bit over an hour. So when I'm in this car, are there things that I could be doing? You know how you always like, I wish I had time to call my friend, to catch up, to make this doctor's appointment, to do these different things. So finding hidden time is about, while I'm already doing one thing, how can I essentially successfully multitask? You're sitting in a car for an hour. Are there people that you want to call and catch up with? Use your commute time to do it. Are there doctor's appointments that you need to potentially call and set, but you never have time, because you know half the time you got to call the doctor, you got to sit on hold. Call while you're in your car. You have nowhere else to go. You want to, have more time for personal development. Can you listen to podcasts? Or if, now with all these different platforms, like, can you pull up the training and listen to that in your car? So finding hidden time is about, while you're already doing one thing, is there something else that you can do? We need to go grocery shop. We need to get these groceries. So whether you're physically going in the store to pick up your groceries, or you're doing grocery pickup or grocery delivery. Like, I do my grocery shopping on my way home. I'm the person that I figured out how to make a grocery list for the month, know my menu for the month, and I can go grocery shopping once a month. And my food doesn't go bad, and I'm able to cook and eat it. But I plan my grocery shopping time for, okay, this is the day that I'm going to go after work, because I'm already passing the grocery store. When I'm home, I don't like to leave my house to go back out. So I'm the type of person that if I need to do something, I'm going to try to schedule it as best I can from when I'm already in that area. Is it the library? Is it the doctor? Is it the grocery store? So finding hidden time is about looking at what goes on in your life or your week, day to day. Kids with, sports, you with sports, nail appointments, hair appointments, anything it is that you do, and figuring out what else do you need to do in life that's in that area. And can we put it together so that you're maximizing your time, your gas, and your resources, so that you're balancing, you're not wasting time just going to the store to pick up one thing when you could pick up that one thing when you're already passing by it.
So that means you have to be really organized. A lot of us.
Yes, in a sense. It doesn't have to start out being really organized. Sometimes it's just starting out with the basics. And then as you get into it and understand more about it, you can expand and you can grow it and do all the things in that regard. But you don't have to start out super organized to be there.
Okay. And I appreciate that. So many women chase work-life balance, but you suggest to move beyond that. Why is the balance not the goal, and what should we be aiming for instead?
I would say harmony, work-life harmony, because a lot of times people often look at balance as 50-50. But what if balance in this season is 75-25? Balance is ultimately about wholeness. And so that's why harmony might be the better word, because there are going to be seasons in life where work might take more of your focus, because maybe you are going for a promotion. Me as an attorney, if I'm in a trial period, like if I have a trial, that's going to take a lot more of my energy. So it's about being able to work with your body and against your body. So if you're looking for harmony, it's about ultimately, am I whole at the end of the day? For me, I look at my life as having three major compartments. I have work, I have my business, and then I have life. And life can be, family, faith, friendships, relationships, like everything else that's not work or business. And so when we look at life in that way, that doesn't mean that I need to be 33, 33, 33 in each area. Maybe I'm in a season where I need to pour more into me, and as a result, I pull back some from my business and, make sure that I'm doing, I don't want to say the bare minimum, but basically doing the bare minimum at work to stay afloat. Maybe I'm in a season, because this is a trial period, that work is going to take more of my energy. And because I know that sometimes when I'm in trial, we don't get to leave at 5 because we might be in the middle of questioning a witness. And so that might mean leave later, which means my coaching hours have to be reduced during that time period because I can't be two places at once. And because I'm showing up at trial and at work, I'm using a lot more of my brain power than I might be using on a day-to-day basis. So I want to make sure that I can create that harmony or that balance across the other areas to where I'm not stressing myself out and burning myself out trying to do all the things and be all the places.
That is basically, you just answered my next question, which is, what's one small practical shift that women can do to balance out their lives, or rather, as you said, live in harmony with themselves? And you answered that. Thank you.
Yeah, looking at your calendar, knowing what's going on, so knowing your capacity.
How does reconnecting with your purpose change the way women show up at work and their lives? Can you share a story of someone who rediscovered themselves, or yourself, because you went through a whole shift as well?
I would say for me, reconnecting, not realizing that per se coaching was my purpose. I had always said that I was going to open my own firm by the time I was 30. The pandemic year was my 30th birthday year. And so like the year before that, I was kind of looking at it and was like, do I really want to open my own firm? Like, am I doing it just to say I did it? Or like, what am I hoping to gain out of it? I'm a government attorney, so I'm a public defender. And so for me, I chose that because oftentimes those people are unrepresented or underrepresented and don't get good representation. Not saying that happens everywhere or anything to that effect, but stereotypically it's public pretenders. You need to get a paid lawyer, all of this stuff. But for me, I knew that going in as a public defender, I was likely going to have a higher caseload. I was likely going to have, these things that would put more demands on my time. But I went in with the intention of, I'm not working late. I'm not bringing work home. If I have to work late, it's the exception rather than the rule. I'm not going in saying I'm bringing work home, I'm working late. So I went in knowing that the odds are stacked against me, so to speak. And because of that, I'm like, well, let me figure out how to be an attorney, how this works, so that I can start creating systems that help me to show up. And so for me, it has always, I can count on one hand the number of times that I have went to work, which is 2, went to work on a day off 2 times. And this year will be 12 years of me being an attorney. And I can count on one hand, maybe 2, the number of times that I've brought work home, not because I was working from home the next day, so I had to bring it home. And in 12 years, I can count on one hand both of those things. And so I've gone in with the intention of, when I'm at work, I'm working. Hey, coworkers, I'll talk to y'all for a little bit, but I'm here to work. There are coworkers of mine that I have that spend a lot more time during the day talking, but that's because they're okay with working late or bringing work home. And so that's how they've created their balance or their harmony. I don't want to talk to y'all when I'm off. I don't want to see y'all. I don't want to hear from y'all. No, we can be friends. We can talk. Not about work on the weekends. And so I had to go in with that mindset, with that intention. And so knowing that, I've had to create structure and systems. And so when I transform that, or, take that into the clients that I've worked with, I had a client who also was an attorney. She used to work with me, but now she's at a different firm. I'm like doing private practice, mom. And she's like, I've been working late. I've been bringing work home, but I want to be able to spend more time with my kids. My husband doesn't make me feel guilty for working late or bringing work home. He's kind of like, do what you have to do to, make sure you're good. But she's like, I don't want to do that. So he's like, okay, she was talking about hiring a coach, and he's like, I'm all for it. Hire the coach, do it. If this is going to make you feel better and also allow us to have more time together, let's do it. So we created a schedule for her where on some days she would come into work a little bit earlier so that she can leave on time, because they would kind of split days. There's like most days she was in charge of picking up the kids. but occasionally he would do it too. So on the days that she knew she had to get the kids, okay, you're going to go into the office an hour earlier so that you can, get in, get to work knowing that you have to leave on time. But also when you leave, we're not bringing work home. And then she would also have those days where, okay, if my husband's picking up the kids today, I can stay a little bit later. Again, with the goal and the intention being, I'm not bringing work home. And so through the course of us working together, we kind of created that balance of, okay, these are my go in early days. These are my stay late days. And the going in early and staying late was literally just an hour. But you know how much work you can get done with an hour? You're probably getting more work done in that hour than you are at home with kids running all around, trying to do bath time, trying to make dinner, trying to, keep stopping and pausing. And her husband was on board with it. He was like, okay. And after a couple weeks, he's like, I see the change. Like, I'm all in for it. You want to keep doing this? Go for it. Like, but then at the same time, she had the guilt of, I feel like I'm not doing enough. And I'm like, why? She's like, I feel like I'm not doing enough at work. And I'm like, is your work to-do list, like, are you on track? Yes. Have you missed any deadlines? No, I've actually, because coming into it, she was trying to play catch up from deadlines that she was missing. So, no. So why do you feel like you should be doing more? I just feel like I'm not at work enough hours. But do you have to be there a certain number of hours to get your work done? No. What did you come into this for? More time with family. What do you have? More time with family. But now you feel guilty that you're not at work, but you're missing nothing. Your work is caught up. You're at your deadlines. You've delegated the stuff that needs to be delegated. And so then once she kind of had that step back of, why did I come into this? I'm living in the why. So we have to sometimes take that step back and remind ourselves of what are we doing and why are we doing it, and letting that be the thing that guides us when we sometimes feel like we're off track, to realize and remind ourselves that we're actually not. Because sometimes I don't feel guilty. Sometimes do I question? I was going to say sometimes I feel guilty for not working late or bringing work home. I don't. Sometimes I question how much more work I can get done if I work late or brought work home. Like, yes, there's always going to be more work to do. Always. The more time you have to do work, the more work you're going to find for yourself to do. But is what needs to be done, done? That's what you have to remind yourself of, and go back to that why or that reason so that you can check to see, am I living a balanced life or am I in harmony?
You are such an accomplished young woman. You spoke about being 30 5 years ago. So you are 35.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is a year older than me. We're close in age. And let me see how I can ask this question. How did you become the woman that you are? Because you're so young and you're so accomplished, you're so focused, and you've now poured into your whole purpose, feeding into others and helping other women. How did this woman come into being who she is right now?
Honestly, since I was little, like if I look back, I've, in a sense, been this way since I was little. How did I decide I wanted to be an attorney? My aunt was a corporate lawyer in Miami, and every summer she would take each niece or nephew for a week to have like our week with her. I went down one summer with her, and I came back from literally putting files in ABC order, and I was like, I'm going to be an attorney. That was in, I think, sixth grade, the summer of sixth grade. And I'm like, I'm not doing corporate law. I'm doing criminal law. It literally makes no sense how putting files in ABC order made me decide I wanted to be an attorney and I wanted to do criminal law. But I've never really strayed from that since then. But in terms of how have I been this way, my parents worked growing up. My mom was a 911 dispatcher, so similar to like law enforcement or like EMS, like they work 12 days, they work 2 days on, 2 days off, but it's 12-hour shifts. So no matter if she worked day shift or night shift, it was typically 7 to 7. So either she was going to work at 7 in the morning, getting off at 7 at night, or going to work 7 at night, getting off 7 in the morning. During our younger years, especially growing up, she always tried to be it. Like they have to raffle essentially kind of for which shift she wanted. She would always try to sign up for the 7 a.m. shift so she would be home for like bedtime and dinner time, which meant my dad, he was an electrician, so he pretty much worked for the most part 8 to 5, 9 to 5, 8 to 5, unless I'm in Florida, hurricane season, or there's power outages, then he would get called in and have to, go deal with that. And so because of that, we were given more responsibility, I would say, like latchkey kids, things like that. So because of that, I had to be responsible, and I think they saw me take the responsibility. So it was like, okay, cool. So she would call in the morning to, we have our alarm that goes off, but we also had to call her to make sure, hey, we're up. And it's two sets of kids. So my older sister and brother by that point were kind of going off to college, and then it's me and my younger brother who is 2 years apart, but I'm the older of the two of us. So oftentimes, like, she would call or we would call and say like, hey, we're up. So I was basically responsible for making sure that I got me up and my brother up. And then she would leave the breakfast on the stove, and then we would have to call to say, hey, we're walking to the bus stop now. Okay. So that means I had to keep track of the time to make sure I knew, hey, are we moving? Are we on time, getting dressed, getting breakfast to get out the door? Given my grandparents lived behind us, so if we missed the bus or if we was going to be late, we kind of had a small caveat window. My grandma was a school teacher, so she was normally gone to school by then. My granddad would be like the backup. If we missed the bus, he would take us. But so like we had essentially this schedule. We come home, we're off the bus. Hey, Ma, we're home. Okay. Your snack is here. If you need a snack, here's this. Get your homework done. Call, hey, we're done with homework. Can we go outside and play? That's back in the day where you got to be back inside when the street lights come on. So we would go outside, play, street lights came on. We knew that was time to come back into the house. About that time, she should be coming home if my dad wasn't already home as well. So essentially, I've had to follow a schedule since I was little. And I took it and I ran with it. And so from there, also knowing that I wanted to be an attorney, this program started coming into my junior year of high school called collegiate high school. So essentially I was able to graduate high school with my AA degree as well as my high school diploma. And I'm like, I want to be a lawyer. That's 7 years of school. So if I can get 2 years of school done for free, yeah, we finna make this happen. So technically, I graduated with my AA before my high school diploma because college graduations are in May and high school graduations are in June. But essentially, I've lived a structured life and embraced structure since I was little because it was kind of, I don't want to say forced on me, but it was kind of required based off of my parents' careers and their jobs and what we had to do with the support system that we did have. And I took it and I ran with it. And so from there, it was like, okay, what can I do to be most efficient? What can I do to be most productive? Like, yes, I still had a childhood. Like, I played basketball, I ran track, I still did the sports. And even with adding sports in, you got to make sure you still getting your homework done, even in the midst of these track meets and all of, basketball games and things like that. So really it started when I was little. Like, looking back, I'm like, oh, I guess I kind of have always been a planner. It looked differently in, each season of life, the amount of things I'm balancing. And, some of it obviously still involved my parents. Like, I know I need to be ready at this time because that's what time the car is leaving or that's what time the bus is leaving. So yeah, going back to childhood, it kind of started young and started back in that day. But it was something that I embraced and that worked well for me. Like, I thrive on structure even to this day. Whereas my brother was a little bit more like, come on, boy, get up. We finna miss the bus. Like, I'm not calling mama to tell us we missed the bus. You gonna have to call and tell her, like, let's go. So he would be the more like, I'm naturally a morning person. He's more the night owl. So it would be a little bit of a struggle in the morning. Big sister trying to be like, come on, let's keep it moving. But back from childhood, I would say.
That's amazing that, what we've been planted to do in our childhood season also shows up when we're adults, and you're living proof of that. And now you're very successful because of that. If there's any women listening right now who's tired, overwhelmed, and wondering if anything can really change, what would you like to say to her? Even if it's not a woman, sometimes we get a few odd men listening.
Do you believe it can change? There's a quote, well, that's not really a quote. There's a phrase that I like to say is, if you change your perspective, if you change your mindset, you'll change your life. Perspective is how you look at things. Mindset is how you think about your things. Life is the result. So if you change how you look at overwhelm, burnout, stress, productivity, your to-do list, the roles you play in life, if you change the way you look at them and you change the way you think about them, then those things will change. So if you're feeling burnt out, if you're feeling stressed, if you believe that burnout is your life, you're going to be burnt out for life. If you believe that you don't have to be burnt out, you don't have to be stressed out, you won't. Life will start to move so that doesn't be the case. I say that I'm anti-hustle and grind, but I'm not anti-hard work. Nothing that I've had in life was easy. I worked hard for it, but that doesn't mean that I wasn't one of those students who was pulling all-nighters, staying up all night to study, but I got the work done. I know how to work hard, but in working hard, I don't have to burn myself out in the process. I don't have to hustle and grind to be, neck and neck with you. I can work hard. You might have to hustle and grind to get there, probably because you procrastinated, but I digress. But I'm anti hustle and grind. I'm not anti hard work. So will it take some work for you to get out of the burnout, get out of the overwhelm? Yes, because ultimately you have to find what it is that works for you so that it can be sustainable and continue to manifest and show up for you in life as you go through the different seasons in life. So if you're questioning, is it possible? I'm going to ask you, do you believe that it's possible?
Thank you for that, Coach Lee. Where can our listeners find you for getting their own personal coaching sessions?
I am at legally.me everywhere. Of course, I had to bring the law into it some way. That's LEGALLEE.me. Like, that's website, that's my Instagram handle, TikTok, Facebook, all the things, like Threads, all of them is at legally.me.
And I will add most of them and your website for people to connect with you in our description box. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing with us your wisdom and your methods of helping people and your purpose. I'm glad that you were able to join us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.